A company deploys an AI tool. It works. Everyone is happy. 3 months later, they are spending 40% more than they planned, and nobody can explain where the money went. This is not a story about one company. This is happening everywhere. And it is not because AI tools are expensive. It is because the real costs were never part of the original conversation. Before we get into what those costs actually look like, let me tell you something. What you're watching right now is an AI clone of me. My name is Ronald, and I use AI every day to run my business. Not as a gimmick, as a tool. This avatar exists because it reflects how we actually work. If that kind of calm, honest perspective on AI and business is something you value, consider subscribing. This channel is not about hype. It is about what is actually happening inside companies right now. A team identifies a problem. Maybe customer support is too slow. Maybe scheduling takes too many hours. Maybe leads are falling through the cracks. So someone finds a tool. It has a clean interface, a good demo, a reasonable monthly price. They sign up, they deploy it, and on paper, the problem is solved. But here's what nobody planned for. The tool needs someone to manage it. Not a developer, not an IT person, just someone who keeps it updated, checks if it is working correctly, adjusts settings when the business changes. That takes time, and time is money that never appeared in the original budget. Then there's training. The tool works differently than what people are used to. So you either train them properly, which costs time and slows everything down for a week, or you skip the training and half the team never uses it correctly, which means you're paying for a tool that is only delivering half its value. Because the cost that really catches companies off guard is not the tool itself. It is the cost of the tool living inside a business that was not ready for it. Here is what I mean. Let's say marketing starts using an AI writing assistant. Works great for them. Then sales hears about it and gets a different one. Then operations finds another tool for process automation. Now you have 3 departments using 3 different AI systems. None of them talk to each other. None of them were chosen based on a company-wide strategy. And each one has its own subscription, its own admin, its own learning curve. Nobody planned for this, but it happened. And the cost of this fragmentation is not just the subscriptions. It is the duplicated work. It is the incompatible data. It is the meetings where people are confused because everyone is using a different source of truth. This is where the title of this video becomes very real. AI costs always appear after the tool is deployed because nobody asked the right questions before deployment. Questions like, what does this tool need to connect to? Who is responsible for keeping it running? What happens when the team grows? What happens when the vendor changes their pricing? What happens when someone leaves and they were the only one who understood how the tool works? These are not technical questions. These are business questions, and most companies skip them entirely. If you're finding this useful, hit the like button. It helps more business owners see this. Here is the part that really matters. The reason I know this pattern so well is because my company, Datawonder, builds AI automation and voice agents for businesses. We work with companies that come to us after they have already tried to do this on their own. And the story is almost always the same. It kind of worked, but then costs started showing up that nobody expected. Not just financial costs, operational costs, time costs, coordination costs. Let me give you a real scenario. A service company we worked with had their front desk answering phones manually. They missed calls during busy hours, so they bought a basic AI call handler. Cheap, easy to deploy. But within 2 months, they realized something. The tool could answer calls, but it could not route them properly. It could not update their booking system. It could not handle the 5 most common questions customers actually asked. So the receptionist was still doing most of the work. They were paying for the tool, paying a receptionist, and the customer experience was actually worse, because now callers sometimes talked to a machine that could not help them, and then had to repeat everything to a human. The tool was not the problem, the implementation was, and the implementation cost was invisible until the tool was live. This is what separates companies that use AI well from companies that just have AI tools on their invoice. The ones that do it well start from a different place. They do not ask, what AI tool should we buy? They ask, what process do we need to fix? And what would the ideal solution look like if we designed it from scratch? That is a fundamentally different question, and it leads to fundamentally different results. Because when you start from the process, you discover things. You discover that the phone problem is actually a data problem, that the scheduling issue is actually a communication issue between two teams, that the slow customer response is not because people are lazy, but because the information they need is trapped in three different systems. AI does not fix broken processes, it scales them. If the process is broken, AI will scale the breakage faster and more efficiently than any human ever could. And that is the hidden cost nobody talks about. The cost of deploying AI into a business that has not done the diagnostic work first. It is not the $20 a month per seat. It is the 6 months of confusion, rework, and lost trust inside the team. Because once a team has a bad experience with AI, getting them to try again is twice as hard. They remember the tool that did not work. They remember the training that went nowhere. They remember the promise that was not kept. And that skepticism becomes its own cost. It slows down every future AI decision the company makes. So what do you actually do about this? You start before the tool. You map the process. You identify where time is being wasted, where communication breaks down, where decisions get stuck. Then you decide what to automate, and only then do you choose a tool. It is actually faster, because you do not spend 3 months discovering that you bought the wrong thing. You spend 2 weeks understanding the problem, and then you deploy something that actually fits. Every solution creates a new set of challenges. That is normal. That is how progress works. But the difference between companies that grow through AI and companies that get buried by it is whether those new challenges were anticipated or whether they came as a surprise. The companies that win are not the ones with the most tools. They are the ones with the clearest thinking. And clear thinking does not start with technology. It starts with understanding your own business well enough to know what technology should actually do for you. So here is my question for you. If you have deployed an AI tool in your company, what was the cost you did not expect? Not the subscription, the other cost, the one that showed up 3 months later. Drop it in the comments, because that conversation is more valuable than any tool demo you will ever watch.